Hello and welcome to Further Together.
Enriching relationships, creating a better future.
Yes, it's your friends here, Kudzie and Priscilla, broadcasting live from London. And it is that day of the week where we visit you in the comfort of your places to discuss, issues in regards to marriage. If you are just joining us, if you're coming in for the first time, I want to take this opportunity to say welcome. And there are tons and tons of videos which are down here. Would also encourage you to partake and share with friends and family so that they also benefit. If you are a regular, we want to say welcome back and thank you for trusting the content that we do give on this platform. And also we encourage you to share with friends and family so that they become better, a better you, a better them, then we have a better world.
Yes, guys, do kindly share with friends and family. And yet we are back on another episode where our main aim is to enrich relationships. We are passionate about what we do. And so we are here committed to the call to make sure that marriages are enriched.
Yeah.
And this year, our theme is progress and not perfection.
Perfection, yes. Yes, those who are here. I'm seeing Divine is here, and he's connected straight from my mother's house. I hope you also let my mom hear all these issues. Let her know that you are talking about marriage, relationships, and the things that builds relationships. Yeah. Mr. Madzigatiri, how are you, sir? All the way from South Africa. Yeah, it's good to see you and it's good to have you. Thank you so much for being a friend and family, ever contributing to this platform. And by the way, apart from the Facebook Live that we do every Thursday, we do have mentorship for couples. We also have coaching for couples and those who are in relationships. And above all, we have the pre-marriage course, which is quite important. Next week we have a guest and we'll be speaking about the importance of pre-marriage, because almost all the couples that we have worked with, be it intervention or just mentorship and coaching, we discovered that there are certain stages or certain levels of marriage coaching that they may have either missed or ignored, and it is now catching up. So you either do it now, or you might spend more time.
Buy now or pay later.
Yeah, you spend more time in counseling and therapy.
Yes, absolutely. So we have realized that a lot is not being done in terms of marriage preparation. People do prepare a lot for their weddings, and they put in a lot of money to things like that, and yet not enough is being done in marriage, in preparation of marriage.
For the marriage, yes.
Yeah, and that's why next week is going to be another enlightening episode.
Yes, and from last week we were talking about vulnerability, being vulnerable, opening to your spouse, and it's we said it's a difficult place to be in. And today we are talking about the benefits of being vulnerable. Yes, sir. All the way from South Africa, Mr. Jefferson Jim, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for connecting.
And like we said that last week, that being vulnerable is like an open heart surgery. You are opening up to your spouse. You're opening up to the person whom you love, so that they will have a full understanding of you. I know many times when we have arguments, we'll go to the point of saying, you don't really know me. So we want them to really know us so that we can live in peace and harmony. And we discovered that, vulnerability is not a weakness. And we decoded what it is. Yeah. So this week we are saying there are benefits of being vulnerable. And what are the benefits? These are some of the benefits are what you're going to share today. So some of the benefits, not all, this is not exhaustive, but some of the benefits are what you're going to share today.
Yes, so benefit number one is that it fosters trust and also encourages transparency.
Yes.
So trust and transparency.
Very, very true. Marriages, they stand more on the foundation of trust.
Yeah.
Two people who probably do not know each other, you meeting and you have a relationship, you trust the other person, what they're saying, then you get into union with them.
Yeah.
And what fosters that relationship, that relationship
trust,
is
yeah.
because of the trust, that I'm trusting you, I'm trusting what you're saying. When you said we were going to get married, I trusted you, trusted my word, and I also trusted you until now we are living together. However, trust is built. Trust is not a one-day thing. And I like somebody who says trust is lost in buckets and it is gained in drops.
Yep.
So every little drop of being honesty, every little drop of transparency, every little drop of me opening up, it makes you to trust me more.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it doesn't come easy. Like we mentioned all of last week, that this vulnerability doesn't come easy. But yet when we are open enough, when we are open to our spouse, letting them know how we feel, letting them know, just choosing to be open, to be transparent, even in things that they have not asked.
Yes.
Because sometimes we wait until your spouse asks you, like, what is happening, what is going on, before you can be vulnerable to them. But what it does is, when we can be transparent, I feel that if somebody that is transparent to me, I can trust them.
Yeah.
Because they are opening up even to things that I have not asked of them. They are telling me deeper things that I never even imagined they would. So it fosters that trust and it encourages transparency.
And we always talk about two words, and we like the other one more. We talk about honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
And you know what? If, for your own information, somebody who is honest, when you ask them a question, they will just answer you, and they will give you the information just regarding to that question. So if you ask them, where are you coming from, they will just tell you that I'm coming from the shops.
Yep.
However, where there is transparency is I'm getting in, then I say, babe, you know what? I went to the shops and this is what happened to me. I saw this and this and this and this. And in this regard, this is what I did.
Yeah.
So I'm being transparent by saying things that I have not been asked.
Yeah.
Yes, with honesty, you have there are specific questions that you have to ask. And information that you are given by an honest person, when they can be honest, you ask them, does that person, are you in a relationship with that person? An honest person will just say yes.
Yeah.
But if you do not ask further, they will not tell you how deep that relationship has been. Whereas a transparent person will come before you even ask and say, you know what, babe, I want to say this, I want to share with you, this is what happened. I've been with that person and this is what I have done. So how best can I, can we move forward? That's being transparent. And that takes us to probably what we said last week. The last of last week. Last of last week, when I was saying Priscilla knows the type of women who attracts me. And she knows the areas, my areas of weakness. And it is against that background that even when we are walking, there are certain things that I do not have to lie to her. I have to tell her, you know what, babe, I have to be strong here. There are certain environments where I come back and tell her, you know what, I've been there and it messed with my mind. So it's that level of transparency. I trust that even when I tell her, she's not gonna say to me, it's because of what you have done. She's not gonna blame me, but she is on my side. She's working with me. So it's like a football team. We're playing together. If somebody suffers an injury, before they tell the opponents, they have to tell the guys, can you cover up for me, because I can't run that way. So the other person is covering for you, because they are knowing that in this, if we let the opponent come from that side, because of the weakness of the other person, then we might lose a game. We are working together.
Yes, and just having that mindset of knowing that we are both on the same side does encourage as well. And I can say that when you're transparent, your other spouse finds it easy to trust you. I don't know if we shared the other time a story of a lady that you were working with in your working place.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you can
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, you was working. You were you're working, and there was a lady, and that lady had interest. She wanted him basically, and in that moment he did not even realize that this girl was making advances on him. And thank God for being transparent and being vulnerable, that she used to come home and tell me that, oh, this person has bought me chocolate to come and give to you. This person bought a dress and said, go and give to your wife. By the way, the lady knew that we were married.
And she knew Priscilla personally.
She knew me.
Yeah. So we were like, I mean, we were friends. I was looking at her as a friend.
Yeah.
No strings attached. But however, she was penetrating, somehow grooming little by little. That I kind of almost fell into the trap without knowing, until Priscilla said to me, hey, hang on, open your eyes. This is what this person is dragging you to.
Yes. So the thing is, the lady was grooming him. He wanted to lure him slowly.
She wanted to, yeah.
She wanted to lure you slowly to having sex with her. But in that moment, he didn't know. And because he was vulnerable, and you were telling me that, there's a girl there, and the girl is buying me stuff. The girl is doing this. So whatever that you'd get, you'd come home and say, oh, she bought me a chocolate today. She said I should go and give my wife. She did this to me. And because he was transparent enough, I was able to say to him, babe, if you're not careful, you're going to fall for this lady. This is what this lady is trying to do. And that allowed me to even trust you the more, because you may have decided to not share anything, just go to work, pretend as if nothing, there's nobody who's chasing you at work. So there is, a benefit of being vulnerable. If you can be vulnerable, you can be trusted.
Yeah, by the way, the other level of transparency is I have my own mobile phone. It's mine, it's in my name. And it has a PIN number, which my wife knows. Yeah. So I lock it just for the sake of the children. But my wife knows, so she doesn't have to wait for me to go to the bathroom for her to get into my phone.
Or before I crack the code.
Before she crack the code, or I'm sleeping and she looks for the thumb. No, it's there for her to get in. My Facebook, she locks in all my social networks. She can get in, and I can sign on her phone as well as hers. I do sign them on my phone. So if somebody is trying to get in touch with me, sometimes
the secretary will,
they can be answered with that. And with all sincerity, I don't feel like, oh, I forgot my phone, let me go home. If I left my phone at home, babe, there is my phone. If anybody calls, speak to them, pick up the phone. We have reached that level whereby I have to be honest to her. What bothers me, what troubles me, troubles her. So why not share with her? Because everything that I'm going to do, if there are any, if it is going to affect me, it will affect her. So what affects me directly, affects her directly as well. Absolutely. So we have to share these things.
And on that note, are we saying that you have to ask your husband or your wife for their password?
No, not really. Not what we are saying is you have to build a level of trust. And how do you build that? You build it by being vulnerable. And vulnerability is not a destination.
It's not a hiding thing.
Yes.
It's not, you're open. You're open and you're saying, this is me. These are my weaknesses. This is what I'm going through. If you need help, you're asking for help.
And I want to say this, that most women, they do think that men are more close when it comes to vulnerability. However, we have discovered that if one person opens up and they are genuinely opening up, then the other person will also open up. So if you are the one, you feel like the other person is not being trustworthy, take the steps towards being, being vulnerable.
Be the first.
Yes, first, little by little. Remember, we said one step at a time. You don't just go and open up and make yourself vulnerable. Last week we said vulnerability is a two-edged sword. It's either it can either heal you or it can hurt you.
Yeah.
So you will have to have that understanding of the person whom you are dealing with. Then little by little, you are opening up. Trust is building drops. Little drops, you see how they are reacting until you reach there.
And I like the point that you mentioned. And in our case, I am the more closed one.
Yeah.
And he's the more vulnerable one. He is open such that, you know, when you started pushing those boundaries, I was like, oh my God. Is this guy really, you know, like telling me everything about his life? Is he really telling me all of that stuff? So, and I think that really helped me a lot to be vulnerable as well. And now I'm getting to that level where I can speak about everything. I can speak about anything. But like we said, it starts with that one person that is at a better level of being vulnerable. Start somewhere and let the other spouse catch up with you as well.
Oh, yes. Good evening, Hazel Much. It's good to see you, Rufa Raj. Thank you very much for joining in.
Trujillo,
Osborne, thank you so much. Auntie Angie, it's good to see you, my sister. God bless you. Helen Shiroda, thank you very much. Pastor Julie, thank you for tuning in. Man of God, Pastor Blessing, it's good to see you. God bless you. So we are talking about the benefits of being vulnerable. And we say, number one, it fosters trust and encourages transparency.
Yep.
And number two
is that it increases the chances of your needs being met. Many a times, we get it with couples, and sometimes I, for one, I would say, oh, you're not meeting my needs in this specific area. And your question is always, have you communicated your needs?
Do I really know?
Do you really know? Like, to what extent do you know what I need in that moment? Because at the end of the day, needs are dynamic. Today, I may feel that my greatest need is of affection, and tomorrow it may be support. So, but being vulnerable, when you're vulnerable, you are able to communicate your needs with your spouse.
Yeah.
And we are not saying that automatically they are going to meet your needs because you've communicated them.
But they work towards. They work towards. And one of the biggest challenges is, say, for example, physical intimacy. You know, you are somebody, suppose you like physical intimacy, and the person might be holding your hand, and yet for you at that moment, all you need is a cuddle. Yeah. So let them understand, you know, being vulnerable is when you give me, I enjoy you holding my hand. However, when you give me a cuddle, it makes me feel more loved. So it increases the chances of you being shown love and your needs being met. You know, those 5 love languages which you talk about, if you do not know much about the 5 love languages, we'd encourage you to look for a book by Pastor Gary Chapman called The 5 Love Languages. So let the other person know you more so that they will serve you better in love.
Absolutely. And I can give us as an example, as something that we've been talking about lately, that there was a moment when you were saying to me that, because I'm a night owl and he's you're an early bird, so you tend not to wake up early and I go to sleep late. And you were vulnerable enough to say that when you're coming to bed late, in that moment I've already slept. It doesn't encourage intimacy amongst us. How can we work towards sleeping at the same time so that we can enjoy intimacy and then, you know, wake up to do whatever you want to do? But the thing is, if you're not vulnerable enough to say, this is what I need, this is how I feel, I need my wife, I need us to sleep together, then how would those needs be met?
Elder Gabriel, it's good to see you. Hey, Abam Kamba, thank you for very much. It has been a long time. And one of the biggest challenges with vulnerability is there are some people who knows how to play, you know, that card of being vulnerable, and yet they are not really vulnerable. Yeah. They know how to pretend. Don't pretend. Show yourself, be real. If you want to open up, open up. If you know that you have reached that level of sitting down and say, you know what, this is how I feel when I see ladies of this caliber. then let it be known, because the Bible says God doesn't tempt you. You are only tempted by your own lust. So what that does is, if she knows the areas that I'm likely to fall, then she will also help me in those areas. She knows how to guide, not only for herself but also for me, so that I won't have guilty conscience. I won't struggle falling in the same pit over and over again. So she's like somebody who is helping me and to maneuver in the maze of life.
So point number one, we've mentioned that it fosters trust and it encourages transparency. And then the second thing is that it increases the chances of our needs being met. And the third thing is that you can be truly loved and accepted for who you are. True love and acceptance comes when you are vulnerable, because many a times when we've got the masks on, your spouse is only in love with
the mask.
They're not in love with you, the real you. But when you are vulnerable, when you can show that this is me, this is who I truly am, these are my struggles, these are my fears, this is how I feel, then they can truly choose to say, I'm loving you. I'm loving Kudzie with all his flaws, with all his imperfections. I'm loving you for who you are.
You know, I think we have watched clowns, and a story is said of a clown that was wearing tight pants. It was very tight and holding him, pressing him, squeezing him hard. And this clown was wearing a smiling mask. And whilst the clown was dancing on the stage, everybody was seeing a mask that is smiling, so everybody was smiling. But behind the smile, the real person, because the pants are tight and it's squeezing the guy is crying, tears are dropping down his face, and yet what everybody out there is seeing is smiling. So people are smiling because they are seeing a smiling face, a smiling mask, and yet deep inside you are dying, you are burning, you are crying. Only when the clown went backstage and this little boy saw this clown is taking off the mask and tears are rolling down and saying, what happened? He said, you know what, I wasn't happy. This young man is cheering to say, oh, well done, the smiling clown. So we urge you and encourage you not to be the smiling clown. When things are not well, remove the mask, let them see the real you, let them know what's paining you,
and let them
be vulnerable.
Let them love you for who you truly are, and not like what many people do when they're going on dates. They send their representative. So your representative is there, you're putting your best foot forward. That is fine, but do not wear the mask, because they are going to be in love with what is not. And by the way, by the time you get home, all these things, we're going to take them off, everything. And then the true person is revealed. The true person shows up. So let them know you for who you truly are, and let them love you and accept you the way you are. And this is only possible when you are vulnerable.
Yes. And
I think let's go to the last
one. The last point for tonight, the benefits of being vulnerable. The last point is it encourages intimacy and connection. When you become vulnerable, when you become open, the other person understands you, and they know that you are also a human being like them. You have your own fears. I know as men, we want to be macho, but I have my own fears. I have my own challenges. And the moment I share them with her, she wants to be closer to me. By the way, you have to remember that when we were dating, it is that openness, it is that closeness, the questions that I was answering, or the things that I was telling her in detail that makes her to fall in love with me. So intimacy can only be achieved, and connection can only be achieved where there is vulnerability. You can only be as intimate depending with the depth of your vulnerability. So if you are not very much deeper in vulnerability,
if you're closed, if you've got too many skeletons in the cupboard, and you're not being vulnerable, It is.
Intimacy is hard to achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
And we always say we are human beings. Human beings are spiritual. Have you ever been in a point whereby somebody is talking to you and you can sense that this person is not being honest? What this person is saying is not right deep from the heart. You know, by just listening to them and looking into their eyes, you can go and you say, you know what? They were talking to me, but their eyes were full of lies. Their eyes were full of deception. And if it is like that, then it's difficult to achieve intimacy and it is difficult to have connection.
Deeper connection. And guys, are we saying that it is an easy thing? Not at all.
I wish if it was easy.
It is not easy to be truly exposed to the other person, you know, to be naked and unashamed. We all have dark sides. We have areas, we have fears that you don't even want another person to know that I'm afraid of this. So you try as much to hide those things. You don't want, you know, to openly disclose who you are, to openly disclose your fears and your feelings. But if you want to experience a deeper connection, we said it last week that vulnerability is the only route to that greater intimacy, to that deeper connection. You know, and I know people are asking, how did you get to that level for us? How did we get to that level where we can be vulnerable? We can, you know, speak about the issues that in some marriages people would feel like, no, I can't tell my spouse that this is what I'm going through.
Especially issues where the wife, there's somebody who is asking Priscilla out, who is toasting and roasting Priscilla at her workplace. These issues, sometimes they are very difficult for wives to come.
The wife to share.
To say, you know what, there's this guy who is after me, and you know, he's doing all he can, and he has done this and that and that. And, you know, that level of openness encourages trust. For me to know that whatever that is happening there, that place is my safe space.
And I think as well, you really then get to tap into the wisdom, your spouse's wisdom. Like in your case, if you're having somebody that is chasing you and I'm having somebody, if I then come and speak to you, I remember the other time you're saying, oh, us men, you were telling me the minds of men.
Yes.
Because in my own sense, I might be thinking, oh no, I'm smarter than that. I know how to deal with this. I know how to handle this. But when you are vulnerable to your spouse, there are cases where you tell me, babe, you have to be careful what this person is doing. They are trying to do A, B, C, D, E. But that is not achievable if you're not vulnerable, if you are not just able to open up to one another.
And I want to start with this, close with this word, which we all know in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse number 18, I believe, which says, and Adam and Eve were both naked and not ashamed. The other version says, but the man and his wife, they were both naked and not ashamed. So what the word of God is showing us there, it doesn't only say Adam was naked, but both of them, they were naked and not ashamed. So in a relationship, both of you needs to reach a certain level where you naked yourselves and say, you know what, this is what I have, this is what I'm struggling with. And the other person will say, oh, as if it's that's all. This is what I'm also struggling with. And yes, I remember I have a friend, you know, we sat down and he was telling me, you know what, I think this is so abnormal. The evil spirits are after me. This is happening. Then I say to him, you know what, man of God, I've also shared with my mentor, with my mentors, the very same thing. And I think these are issues that normally happens if you're on the limelight. These are normally things which normally happens if these things happen. So it's only when you open up, you are going to see that some of the things that you think is the devil, of course it's the devil, but the devil operates internationally. So in one way or the other person is struggling with those things, or they have just come out of it, so they do have a solution for you. So if ever, sometimes you may not be able to go and open up to your spouse and say, you know what, this is what I'm struggling with. At least find somewhere where you can go and confide.
But the goal at the end of the day is if we
can, myself and my wife, so that, because with some people it comes with stages that after I have said this, let me now go, I'm gathering the confidence to go and speak to my wife or to go and speak to my husband. But let it be, and let the environment where you live, Be an environment that encourages vulnerability.
Yes.
Let your relationship.
And I must add that part of it being an environment that fosters time does take into account how much time are we spending together, because you cannot be vulnerable in a minute
to a stranger.
You cannot be vulnerable to somebody that you're just meeting in. And sometimes we don't get to those levels because we don't even
spend much
and
time
just spend time enough such that I can open up, because we have to be in a conversation, in a conducive environment before we can then get to that level. And friendship is another thing as well. To those that wanted to know, how did you get there? Friendship. Be friends of one another. And when you're friends,
it becomes easier. It becomes easier for you to glide in those levels. So one step, our theme this year is progress and not perfection. Are we perfect? No. We are transparent people who are pushing every day, going, trying to be better than who we were last year. So you may not be where you want to be. However, we encourage you that next week, let it be a different stage as well. Try to move, push towards. Don't get into it. Don't be hurried because you heard Kudzie and Priscilla saying, oh, Priscilla knows the type of women which Kudzie likes. If you go and say that to somebody, when you haven't reached the level of trust that we have reached, it will break your home. God forbid, they will break your neck.
They'll tell you, so you're telling me that you don't love me? You love somebody else? No,
so follow those stages and let's move forward. Like we always say, Apostle Paul says, I don't count myself as if I have apprehended. But one thing that I do,
we are striving.
I press towards the mark. So there are certain areas that, you know, we kind of are testing the waters. You see, can I be honest to her? Can I be vulnerable to her? How deep, how
is she gonna handle this?
Am I in this space if I say this?
Yes, and the last, in closing, we've mentioned in our broadcast the other time that slow progress is better than no progress at all. So your homework for tonight, let's go and take it slow. As long as we get there, the goal is just to be better than what we were. So as long as you're progressing, no matter how slow, it is progress.
Don't rush. Don't compete with anybody. Compete with yourself. Compete with who you were yesterday. And the goal being to be a better marriage or a better couple than you were last week.
Yes, Babam Kurumichada, thank you for joining us.
Yes, progress and not perfection.
Lulu Smiley.
Thank you very much. Meg, thank you, Meg Mtengwa. Thank you very much. Sissy Rams, it's good to see you. Betty, thank you very much for joining. What more shall we say? Hey,
the newly.
This one's for you, the newlyweds.
Yes.
Mr. Mtungwa, thank you very much for joining, Mr. and Mrs. Mtungwa. What more shall we say apart from saying thank you so much for joining us, and God willing, time permitting, we'll meet again next week, same time. Next week, we'll be having a guest, one of our mentors all the way from the United States of America. He'll be joining us next week. For me and my beautiful wife, we are heading towards progress.
Thank you, Sis Angie. Good night.
God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Bye-bye.